Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our fourth Sequester series concert. We've been really fortunate to be able to continue to keep some programming happening at a time when we can't all get together. But it's really nice to be able to get together in this way and continue to support the creative efforts of all of our fantastic artists in this region. I want to, of course, acknowledge and thank the New York State Council of the Arts and the Cullen Foundation for their continued support in helping us keep this music alive, and in particular our Hall Walls members who have been so strong in making sure that we keep things going and continuing to support things even though, as I said, we can't all get together. But soon we hope that we'll be able to all get together in the same place and then have an alternate medium to reach people who can't be here with us. For our fourth concert tonight, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you one of our finest musicians, fantastic oboe player, one of my favorite instruments, and a prolific teacher, Megan Kyle.
I am so grateful to Steve and Bill and Hall Walls for having me. It feels really good to be back on a stage. It's kind of weird, but good. And definitely keep checking out these shows every Tuesday. They've been like the highlight of my week for the past few weeks, and there's a lot of really great stuff coming. So I'm going to introduce each of the pieces tonight. If there's a theme for this show, it's about pushing the kind of sonic extremes of the oboe. And this is something that I gravitate towards anyway as a performer. I'm really excited to share this collection of pieces. They all kind of push the envelope in intersecting and also kind of diverging ways. They come to the instrument from various perspectives, but explore some of those extremes that are so fun for me to explore. The first piece tonight. The first piece tonight is Insight 1 by Chin Ting Chan, who is a new piece to me. It's a new composer to me, and I'm really thrilled to have learned this piece. It was really fun to learn. I hope to do more of his pieces. He's an assistant professor of music composition at Ball State University, and we've had a little bit of an email exchange over the past month or so, which has been really nice. He's been super supportive, and it's been cool to learn more about the piece. I'm going to read his program note to give you some background about it. Insight 1 is commissioned by oboist Lisa Kozenko to premiere at the International Double Reed Society, IDRS, conference in summer 2018. It explores the rich timbres that an oboe can produce by inviting the performer to find alternate fingerings for a single pitch. The constant fluctuation in meter, combined with coloristic timbral variants, give the piece a flowing quality that provides insight into the performer's mind. kind of imagine everyone cheering wildly at home. So next up is a piece called Piri by Isang Yun. This is from 1971. Sorry, I shout louder. This is from 1971. This was actually one of the very first pieces that I first performed after moving to Buffalo in 2013. It was on one of the first concerts that I did with the new music collective Wooden Cities, which I'm still part of. You may have seen us play at Hallwells before. So it's pretty special to me, and it was really nice to have this opportunity to kind of dust it off and relearn it. Piri is the name of a Korean double reed instrument that has some similarities to the oboe. It has a lot more capacity for glissandos and pitch bends than the modern oboe, the Western oboe does. But I think that actually, I'm going to get to that in a second, but I think that actually is really interesting. Excuse me, I'm out of breath. I think that's really interesting considering the background of the piece. So the background of the piece, Yoon was born in Korea, lived there for the first half of his life, but he ended up living in exile in Germany when he died, and for the last 20 or so years of his life. Piri was written in 1971, which is the year that he gained citizenship in Germany, and it was 2 years after he was released from imprisonment in Korea due to suspicion of espionage. He was active politically in Korea and had sort of suffered the consequences of that over the years. Ultimately, he was never actually able to return to Korea. He died in Germany in 1995. And there's a lot of sort of pain and yearning in this piece. I think it's emblematic of the situation that he was in when he wrote the piece, that he's sort of taken those wide pitch bends and the ornaments of the traditional Piri and translated them onto the Western oboe. You know, the Western oboe is much sort of louder and more strident in sound than the Piri. So it sort of seems well suited to express this sort of anguish, but it also, you know, at the same time, it's a symbol of the location of his exile. So there's sort of an interesting, I think, conflict there. take a second. So that kind of diffuse sound that Piri ends with is kind of where I'm starting for the next one. The next piece is called Despina, Invisible Cities, number 7, by me, and written this year, like 2 weeks ago. I'm an extremely fledgling composer. I've only just started writing pieces in the last couple of years, and so far they've all been part of a set called Invisible Series. These are pieces that are based on chapters of Italo Calvino's 1972 book, Invisible Cities. Let me take a drink of water. The book is framed as Marco Polo describing the cities that he's encountered in his travels to Kublai Khan. And they're all these sort of imaginary cities that are absurd or surreal in some way. They're all kind of like otherworldly, not possible, but in some way very possible, like metaphorically true kind of descriptions of cities. And they always start with some kind of a structural conceit that then is sort of poetically spun out to a logical conclusion or upended, just sort of dealt with in some way. And so I was inspired to write musical situations that somehow mirror those conceits. So sort of like setting up a game. They're usually semi-improvised, but within specific structures. So I've written 2 for solo oboe, and those are the 2 I'm going to play next. I've written a couple others for some varying ensembles, and I hope to write more. It's been a kind of interesting exercise for me as I'm learning how to compose, to have this very specific constraint, try to make a piece that does in music what this chapter does in text. And yeah, I wanted to kind of mention, tonight is the first time that I've played a show in a year, a live show anyway. I've done a couple things online. Definitely my first solo show in a year. So when Steve invited me to do it, first of all, I was really excited, and second, I thought, this would be a good occasion to write another Invisible Series piece. So I'm glad I got to premiere it tonight. And before I start, I'm going to read the text, the Calvino text that the piece is based on. So this is an excerpt from Despina. Oh, and also Bill, during the video stream while I'm playing, is going to be dropping in an image of the score. This is actually an excerpt of the score. There's some written instructions too, but he's going to be sharing the visual score, the kind of chart that I'm going to be following as I play. Despina can be reached in 2 ways, by ship or by camel. The city displays one face to the traveler arriving over land and a different one to him who arrives by sea. When the camel driver sees, at the horizon of the tableland, the pinnacles of the skyscrapers come into view, the radar antennae, the white and red windsocks flapping, the chimneys belching smoke, he thinks of a ship. He knows it is a city, but he thinks of it as a vessel that will take him away from the desert. In the coastline's haze, the sailor discerns the form of a camel's withers, an embroidered saddle with glittering fringe between 2 spotted humps, advancing and swaying. He knows it is a city, but he thinks of it as a camel, from whose pack hang wineskins and bags of candied fruit, date wine, tobacco leaves. Each city receives its form from the desert it opposes, and so the camel driver and the sailor see Despina, a border city between 2 deserts. So this next one is another invisible series. This one's number 4. Somehow. It's one of the first ones I wrote, but it's number 4. I'm not sure how that happened. It's called Morelia. It was written in 2018, but I recently revised it significantly. I kind of changed the structure around, and I drew a new score for it, which is going to be shown again during the performance. This chapter has to do with the way that cities change over time, and so both the kind of continuity and the total incontinuity of those different versions of a place. And so for this piece, I decided in the composing process to use sort of a combination of conscious choice and also total chance by using a random number generator to decide certain things. I came up with a flow chart, kind of a thing that the performer can follow however they like. So they can choose which path to take at any given moment, how they pace the musical material, what dynamics they play. It's all up to them. Before I play, I will again read the Calvino text for this one. This is actually the entire chapter. It's short enough I can read it. In Morelia, the traveler is invited to visit the city and at the same time to examine some old postcards that show it as it used to be. The same identical square with a hen in the place of the bus station, a bandstand in the place of the overpass, 2 young ladies with white parasols in the place of the munitions factory. If the traveler does not wish to disappoint the inhabitants, he must praise the postcard city and prefer it to the present one, though he must be careful to contain his regret at the changes within definite limits, admitting that the magnificence and prosperity of the metropolis Morelia, when compared to the old provincial Morelia, cannot compensate for a certain lost grace, which, however, can be appreciated only now in the old postcards, whereas before, when that provincial Morelia was before one's eyes, one saw absolutely nothing graceful and would see it even less today if Morelia had remained unchanged. And in any case, the metropolis has the added attraction that through what it has become, one can look back with nostalgia at what it was. Beware of saying to them that sometimes different cities follow one another on the same site and under the same name, born and dying without knowing one another, without communication among themselves. At times, even the names of the inhabitants remain the same, and their voices' accent, and also the features of the faces. But the gods who live beneath names and above places have gone off without a word, and outsiders have settled in their place. It is pointless to ask whether the new ones are better or worse than the old, since there is no connection between them, just as the old postcards do not depict Morelia as it was, but a different city, which, by chance, was called Morelia, like this one. So, before this final piece, I want to plug some releases I have coming up. So, a group that I'm part of, a quartet, an oboe, violin, cello, piano quartet called The Evolution of the Arm. We have our debut album coming out in a couple months. We don't have a solid date yet, but you can check out our website, theevolutionofthearm.com, and or follow us on Instagram at The Evolution of the Arm. We're really excited about it. We recorded it back before COVID, and we've been kind of like taking our time with edits, and I think it sounds really awesome, so I hope you'll check it out. And then also, I'm part of a duo with composer and vocal performer Essen Gunduz called Senso di Voce, and we are releasing a video of a performance that we did in summer 2018 that Megan Matei, who's an awesome photographer, videographer, did. We're releasing that in the next month or so, just through our website. We're going to have an option to donate to support us if you choose to. That's sensodivoce.wordpress.com. Excuse me. Senso is so SENSODIVOCE.wordpress.com. Those are my plugs. So this last one is called Bogo 1, and it is with my husband and quarantine podmate Jesse Miller. Jesse's been making music for a really long time, but somehow this is like maybe our first real collaboration, which is just wild. But here we are. So I just wanted to give some kind of background to like the materials that we're using. So backing way up, I think probably a lot of musicians can relate to just how hard it has been to try to keep up with like practicing and maintaining creative energy during the pandemic. It's been really up and down for me over the last year, and I've learned that sometimes you just like you need to put the oboe aside and take a break, and that's like sometimes the best thing you can do, and just come back when you're ready. So after a good break, I came back feeling inspired finally in January, and to help myself kind of get back into shape, I started recording a multi-tracked Renaissance motet with myself every day, just with like a three or four part motet, just recording layers. And Jesse decided to take these recordings and kind of do all sorts of amazing things in Ableton, and he made them into these creepy loops that don't even really sound much like oboes at all, which is cool. So we're going to be messing with those. This is an improvised piece. Jesse will be sort of manipulating electronics live and also manipulating my sound, which is going to be going through his computer as well. Did I say everything I needed to say? Oh, I gotta move this. That's everything.
Bravo.
Thanks to Jesse for joining me for this. It was really fun to play with you.
It's fun to play with you too.
And yeah, thanks again, Steve and Bill, for doing this. I just like, you know, it means a lot to see it happening and to get to watch them, and then it's like just crazy special to be invited to be one of the performers. So thanks so much.
Thank you.